So today we're doing session 3. So this is connecting with your market. So again, we're getting into, starting to get a little bit of like value proposition kind of things. So today's agenda, not an overly long session, but this is a very powerful one that's going to start setting us up for the next section, which is going to be all about lead generation. So know your market, build your expertise, utilize resources. So we don't need to know everything, but we can point people in the right direction. We'll go over some recap in our house and then daily success habits. Here's the truth. If it has been done in another market, it can be done in your market. Once it has been done, no matter where, it's just a matter of finding out how that can be possible in your world. So I can't remember if it was the lead gen class or the last Ignite class where we're talking about some agents that we saw, like an agent camp that he's 20-some years old. He does mailers, thousands of mailers every month, and he gets a lot of listings from it. Talked about another guy out by San Diego in his 70s. He door knocks the same neighborhoods every 3 months, and that's how he gets all his business. So you got to find how you want to market, and it's saying it's possible. You might have to tweak it a little bit, but you know definitively that that system's possible. I got it. Yeah. Oh, you're good. Yeah, no, you're good. So when you talk about knowing your market, what does that say to you?
Knowing your market. Like when I say when you say know your market, I mean small, but like I like to keep it under my house, and I can know what's already around here. I'm really off the top of my head, and what the prices are. So like let's say they're like this man, well we got these, or what's selling in this neighborhood for the prices. I can ask questions.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't be able to know New Haven because I haven't been in New Haven. Doing any activity over there, but like, so I would say maybe I think it's small like that. But saying that,
Well, that's very good. Everybody?
For me, like, knowing market is like, where do you want to focus? Let's say for me, myself, I focus on my community. Most of the leads come from my community, so
Right.
yeah, it's just a small community I focus on.
I say like knowing the population that would be in that area also, like if it's like, or like also like the price point.
Mhm.
Maybe like let's say in our area, most people would be like they can afford like a certain amount of price. Some people that, or like if it's like a family that, or like a family or like older population. I would just kind of think back on what she said, knowing like the income levels, what's the market, what's selling.
So we look at these in 2 different factions. One's called a macro level. So what's going on the area you're going to serve on a big scale, what's going on? So this would be the values just across the board. Is it a buyer's market, seller's market? What's going on with interest rates? That's going to affect everybody. Then on a micro level, now we're talking specifics. This gets in a little bit more of what you're talking about, like subdivision specific. Hey, I'm doing an open house or I have a listing in this subdivision. What's going on in this and maybe the directly surrounding subdivisions so that I have a good knowledge of that. And those are both important. So with that all being said, this is not something that's quickly learned. So what you're going to want to do is find times that you can specify, maybe this quarter, you're going to focus on Northeast Fort Wayne or Northeast Indiana. Take time to learn that. Take 2 or 3 months, really focus in, take yourself out to see homes in that area. Then the next quarter, maybe it's Southwest Fort Wayne or this market or that market. Then over time, you're educating yourself. You're not waiting for clients to come to you to learn this stuff. You're educating yourself. Then inside of that, we always talk about lender partnerships being so important. Get to know them really well. Who can you call and be like, hey, what do you forecast this year? It's just like we get insider coaching from our company. they're getting insider notes on, hey, the Fed's gonna be doing this a few times this year. We're expecting rates to do this, that, or the other. Hey, we think standards on FHA loans might get a little tougher. These are all good things to know. And other resource partners, title companies, are there gonna be any changes on that front? How can we really rely on them to help us understand the market? Remember, they're not just doing deals for real estate agents, they're doing for sale by owners. They got a good feel for foreclosures because, you know, they're doing the paperwork for banks that are taking back over properties. So these are all great partners that will help you on a micro and a macro level, understand what's going on. So if you had to pick, like, are you going to service a pretty big area or a pretty small area? So when I say a pretty big area, like if you think about it, our office can really service all, basically the top third of Indiana. We have offices as far over as basically right by Chicago. We have offices in Angola, Columbia City, Warsaw, Syracuse, Columbia City. We have them all over. So we have some people that are like, if it's not on my side of town, I'm not going. Then some people, I'll go down to Indianapolis if someone wants to buy a house. So we have people that have joined multiple boards because they're willing to drive as far as possible. And that's not something necessarily for you to answer, it's just something for you to think about. And there, again, no right or wrong, but whatever you decide to do, make sure that you're gonna do it extremely well.
So to sell a property that's not in Upstart, you have to be a part of the board, is that right?
On the buy side, you do not have to, thank you.
Okay,
But on the listing side, because you have to be able to access their system. I'll get you on that. You don't need to go ahead.
It's fine.
But yeah, on the low side, buy side, you can sell anywhere in the state of Indiana. So if you're willing to make the drive, and you can make that a case by case basis, somebody wants to buy 4 hours from here. That's worth enough money, maybe you make a few drives down.
And did you mention you have a listing in Indianapolis? No.
No, I've been showing buyers in Indianapolis, yeah, so. But it's the right price, I'm down there quite a bit anyway, my sister's in Bloomington, so when she was looking for a house, I went down there to help her look, so. You know, so you, again, you don't have to make a definitive like rule of thumb, but it could just be a case by case basis. So your market can be as big or as small as you want it to be. But understand that each of those markets are different. So let's look at Muncie. What would be different there than Fort Wayne? College town, right? So there's probably gonna be a lot more potential rentals, which means we may get investors from all over the world that are looking there because it's good investment properties for college students. It's a little different than Fort Wayne. We have some campuses, but nothing on the scale of like a Ball State. Then Indianapolis, like, there's gonna be a lot more condos than Fort Wayne's got. So that could be a different style market. So that's where the, just differences in the style. And then up by the lakes, there's probably tons of Airbnbs, right? So people are like, hey. In a lot of those neighborhoods, again, now this gets down to the macro level. There's a lot of subdivisions that are outlawing Airbnbs. So we need to be aware of that, because if we have an investor looking, we need to make sure that we're understanding that market and that subdivision if they allow it. So I just had one we just closed at the end of the year. And we built in some time because nobody could find if rentals were allowed. So we built in a time frame that they accepted our offer, that we could find that answer, because nobody could find it out before we had to get the offer in. So unfortunately, the covenants didn't really have the answers. We couldn't really find anybody in the neighborhood that was around that was on the board. So I took a few days to find that out. We found out it was good, so then we moved forward. So as much as we try sometimes to know everything, we can't know everything. It's just know where to look, right?
Try to see if there was any other Airbnbs in it. I know that one gave you the correct answer, but.
Right.
that could've been-
So that will help to an extent. So there's a neighborhood here in Fort Wayne called Indian Village. It's like 10 minutes from here. And you would drive in and you're like, oh, this probably allows rentals. Like it's a perfect rental neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood, built probably like the 60s. A lot of ranches, big lots, beautiful homes. Well, they outlawed rentals in that HOA 10, 12 years ago. But and why I'm bringing this all up is if you bought one 20 years ago and you still own it, your grandfather did.
Yes.
So you're okay to keep doing rentals. But as soon as that, like if you own the rental and you bought it 20 years ago and I went to buy it, I would not be able to use it as a rental.
They're all owner
Because that grandfather is now, grandfather clause is gone.
occupied now. They have to
They,
be owner.
I mean, there are some rentals in there because the people have owned it long enough, but as soon as they go to sell it, it's gotta be owner occupied. So,
Have you had any clients like that, that were doing short-term rentals and then you're like, oh my gosh, that was like.
I
Sell it because.
my dad's got one up at the lake. It is, you know, now they're converting theirs into just a year-long rental. So the big thing, because it's up on Lake Jimerson. And the big thing there is they have a public dock and you get a space in the dock if you're owner occupied, but if you do Airbnb, they don't give you a spot. So now they can't offer a boat. So that kind of takes away the whole thing. So now they're just gonna rent it out to students at Trent. But overall, I think they'll make just about the same amount of money because Airbnb people just tear those places up. When people live in them for a year, they take a little bit more care. And the thing with Airbnbs is they're like generally party houses, right? People are on vacation, they come in to have a good time, then they leave, then the next group comes in. So they get tore up pretty good. So I can see where subdivisions go. But just remember on that macro level, micro level, and there's no quick way to do it. That's the biggest thing. We get agents all the time that they really want to come in and know everything right away. It's just not possible. At about the 1 year mark of doing a few deals, you'll start feeling like I'm starting to get a hold of things, which is fun. But just understand, like, it'll just take some time. And this is where knowing to ask the questions, and this is why the private page is so important. Because there's probably somebody at this office that's worked in the subdivision you guys have been looking at, or come across that situation. So if I don't know the answer, you can't get a hold of me, don't be afraid to ask on the private page, because, again, we all learn together. It's kind of like business school 101, right? Here, supply and demand, right? So we got a buyer's inventory, or buyer's market, more than 7 months of inventory. Balanced market, from 5 to 7 months, seller's market less than 5 months, so numbers wise, by inventory levels, we're still in the sellers. And we're seeing, I mean, like I said, the house I just closed on at the end of the year, we're 1 of 4 or 5 offers. Talking to somebody else in coaching, they got 3 offers on their list, and that just went by 3 days ago, 2 days ago. So we're definitely still seeing where there's multiple offers coming. We're heading towards a more balanced market. As much as buyers want to think, it is not a buyer's market. It's getting closer to being balanced, but definitely not a buyer's market. Upstart and most of the boards do a really nice job giving these numbers every month. So if you follow them on like Instagram or sign up for their mailer, they will send you out, like, here's what the inventory levels look like this past month and what we're projecting this month. So they do a nice job giving you the market numbers. And it's up to you how you want to promote it. I've seen tons of agents do videos. They're like, hey, the number of listings is this and the number of. The market doesn't care. I mean, it's great, like for us to know, but to me, that's not a marketing tool. Like that's just like, okay, I'm buying a house. It's probably gonna help me buy one. Like, I don't care that 300 sold this. So make sure like you're appealing to your market, but there's gonna be some analytical types that they know these things because maybe they're an engineering type that numbers are their thing and they like to study this stuff in depth. Great. So know where to go find it. Understand the market as a whole. And be prepared to talk about it. But we're definitely still in the seller's market. And if you go back 2 years ago, we barely had 1 month of inventory on the market. That's what was driving all of this price increase, supply and demand. So most of you guys, at least probably too young, but 2008 when housing market crashed. Everybody keeps talking about that's going to happen again. And in my opinion, and most lenders and experts would agree with this, it's not going to happen because a couple of things. One, they're not doing subprime mortgages. That was the big one. They were giving people money that they had no business. Here's what caused the issue the last few years. It wasn't the subprime mortgages, but it tailed off of 2008. So every year, X amount of homes leading into 2008, 2009 were being built. Well, when the housing market crashed, there's literal subdivisions that were being built that nobody ever moved into. So many builders went out of business. And then on top of that, the ones that stayed in business got very, very particular about what they would build the next few years. So from about 2008 to about 2015, very few new homes were being built. And we're not even back to the levels that were being built then, because there's still not as many builders as there. So then what happened over that 12-year span from 2008 to 2010? Well, the new homes that needed to be built didn't happen. Well, then what else happened in that same time frame? Bunch of younger people that were not in the housing market now became of age where they wanted to buy a house. So we had a lot more demand for housing because of that, and not enough new houses were built to keep up with the demand. So as much as people want to argue, the problem became not enough new homes were being built over a 10, 12-year span. And that's what caused the shortage. That's a lot of new home buyers every month coming in. And even people at that age during that time frame, maybe they were renters and now they're ready to buy. So then there's a whole nother influx of buyers. So I went to business school, so I truly believe in the free market. Supply and demand works. People can complain about the housing prices as much as they want, but at the end of the day, it's supply and demand. Enough people want to buy a house, it's going to drive the price up. Not enough people want to buy it, it's going to drop the price down. NFL football games this weekend, people are complaining about the prices. Well, the one solution to that, go buying the tickets. And then the prices will go down, right? So look at airline tickets, right? So you wait till the day before a flight takes off and they have it half full, you probably buy a ticket for $50. Because they're like, we might as well toss as many people on here as possible. Get the day before and there's only 2 seats left, prices might be $500. It's pure supply and demand. Why bring this whole long story up? We won't pick on your listing, but it's, again, it applies to any listing. We're 3 weeks now on the market. So we went live right before the new year, right? 0 showings. The other person in coaching listing went live 48, 72 hours ago, 3 hours. One was priced aggressively. One was overpriced due to seller demands. Supply and demand. If people see the value, they're going to put the offer. If you overprice it, they won't see the value and you'll get no showings, no offers. This is why it's so important to understand how supply and demand works. It seems so basic. And this is why in these listing presentations, I always encourage you to ask, why are you thinking $300,000? Why are you thinking $400,000? I want to understand them. By and large, they won't have, because we already know the answer. There is nothing to say that. They have 2 mortgages on a property and they're in over their head. That's a them problem. Their kids grew up in this house and all these memories, like that's a great story. Those are your memories, not his memories. So those are valued to you, not to him as the buyer. The best practice is to always price it on the lower side. We want to drive as much activity as possible to drive as many offers, and then the price will end up where the fair market thinks the housing is. Make sense? So by understanding these things about houses not being built over a 12-year span is what drove it. What caused the problem in 2008 is subprime mortgages. You'll still get to this day people talking about there's going to be another, and I have a couple investors, they won't buy. They're like, we're waiting for the next 2008. I'm like, might be waiting for that. I'm not saying it won't happen, but what caused that is not nearly happening as much. Because a lot of lenders got burned in 2000. They went, a lot of them went belly up. Because they're giving out money they had no business giving out. They're not doing that now. We've had buyers, Aaron, that we've talked about where their credit score is like 3 ticks too low and they're not getting a nickel from that lender until they get to this. 2008, they're like, close enough. Here's $400,000, even though you make, $30,000 in a year. They were betting on people fail. And that's just a bleeped up system. When people are betting on somebody, they're not doing that. So people are waiting on the 2008. It's just not gonna happen anytime soon. So now to get back to their motivation, why are they even having this conversation about buying or selling in the first place? And it gets back to just knowing your market. Any questions?
How, like present, like when you talk about the values, like something that they got, the buyer values versus, or the seller values that the other buyers may not, how would you? Like,
You got an example? I think I understand what you're saying, but just want to make sure.
let's say I'm in a listing appointment. Didn't happen, the one I just left, but let's just say they value something in their house or whatever that they built and it was, stored or whatever. And they think that because of that, house should be valued 15,000, 20,000 more than what, the market's saying.
Yeah, for sure. So generally, the things that are gonna bring you the best return on investment. Kitchens and bathrooms. Really nice kitchens and bathrooms. Some people, I get what you're saying. I'm gonna pick on a roof though. I just put a new roof on it, so add 20,000 to whatever you think the value is. Like, no, the expectation is the roof doesn't leak and it's in good shape. Like, that's just a base expectation. That's not. And hey, it's great you did this antique looking fireplace with all this amazing woodwork, but it's gonna take the right buyer that even cares about this. So at the end of the day, it's still gonna have to appraise, and this is what the market's saying your home's worth.
So you're saying like, let's say you have a roof, regular roof, and then like, say you put a ski roof, which is way more, would that be?
I wouldn't buy the house because I have a steel roof. I
So
hate
you
them.
wouldn't.
I hate them.
Why's that?
I hate them. But that's me as a personal preference, right? So,
So that would drive the price up, because it's like a half more.
They got some new ones that,
I just don't like the way they look, the sound and everything, yeah.
they got some new ones that look like shingles.
Yeah, that's a different story,
That actually
yeah.
metal.
So that, to me, I would just put a 30-year shingle on there. Hey, you got a new roof, or most people don't own their homes for 30 years. I could go to the buyer and be like, for the next 30 years, you got a guaranteed roof that is not gonna leak. If they decide to put the extra expensive steel roof, more power to them. Now, let's go, we got it under contract, inspections done, new roofs needed. Buyer wants the metal roof, you'd be like, well, I'll just give you, or give the vendor whatever the shingles will cost, and then you pay the difference and get your metal roof put on. But that's again, a personal preference.
If you have the same exact house with different, one's shingle, one's steel. it's
It won't
not gonna
matter.
affect the prices. No.
But again, another good example is pools. Some people want them, some people hate them. Cause it drives their homeowner's insurance up, it's more to maintain, more to go wrong, you gotta buy chemicals. So same thing there, so for some people, it'd add price to the house. Somebody like me, I'd be like, well, I'm gonna have to dig it up and fill it in.
Who's gonna make the value people?
Not for everybody. Again, these are like unique things. For some people, yes, some people no. They're like, for 3 months, I get to use it. 9 months of the year, it's gonna sit covered and ugly. I gotta worry about my kids being around the pool. My homeowner's insurance will be more expensive because they know I got a pool. It's more things I gotta maintain. It's gonna make my electric bill higher. I gotta buy chemicals. But for you, you might be like, all summer long, everybody's gonna be over, gonna be cooking out, kids are gonna have the pool parties. So to you, it might add value. But a solid house with good bones, that has a good roof, windows, a nice kitchen, that's adding value to everything. These other things are buyer specific. But again, in your homework, like my dad lives in Hacienda Village. A ton of houses in there have pools, so you could even take your market knowledge homework that we were talking about earlier. Okay, houses that have pools, are they worth more in this neighborhood, or are they worth less? or any different than a house without a pool. And you could take your studying that far. Cause there you're getting a lot big enough, cause some of these newer lots are so small, you either get a backyard or you get a pool, you don't get both. There, the lots are big enough to kind of get both. And I don't know the answer to it, but it'd be an interesting thing to experiment with. So. So inventory, number of properties for sale within the market. So we kind of answered a lot of these questions already. You know, pay attention to Upstart and their Facebook page, their Instagram page. Make sure you get their monthly emails because they answer a lot of these questions. How many homes are on the market? What's the inventory? What's the average days on market? What's the average sales price? And what kind of real estate market are we in? So again, less than 5 months, it's a seller's market. That's what we're still in right now. We're going closer and closer to a balanced market where there's 5 to 7 months of inventory. Probably the next couple of years, I would say we might see a buyer's market, but I think we're still a little bit of ways away from that. And when we do homework for studying for a listing appointment, we're gonna be able to answer these specific to that house because the way we do the comparables and the searches and things like that, we're gonna find out how many days on market and on average are these comparables sitting out there. And then we can study, hey, what prices are moving the quickest? Again, that might guide us on, you know, what the sellers wanna do and the advice we're gonna give them on pricing. We kind of hit on this a little bit as well. Make contacts with your lenders. What are they seeing? For them, things are slower because there's not as many people refinancing right now. So what are they seeing on their side of things? Are they seeing rates continue downwards, which most of the ones that I've talked to do think they'll keep trending downwards? They're not gonna get to like 3s and 4s again, but hopefully they'll get to like 6 and under. That'd be nice.
That's gonna be what's gonna be
Oh.
the best, 6 and under.
Could be.
I think that's still really high.
But historically, it's still low. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I bought a house in 08 or sorry, 09, and it was like 8%. So historically, it's low. And again, what we always say, renting is 100%, right? So it's still better than renting. So, and you can always refinance later as well. So, but I think it'll be a long time before we see 2s and 3s. So remember, I mean, it's a business proposition for those lenders at 2 and 3%, they're probably not even making money. When yearly inflation 7%, they're giving you money less than that. So for you, it's better than putting out all the money to buy cash, right? Because your money is beating inflation, borrowing.
How do you know what inflation is?
What's that?
How do you know what inflation is?
The Fed puts out reports every month.
It's national inflation. It affects to each market, different, well, state or city, a little bit differently, right?
Yeah, they'll give you like a national average, like 7 or 8%. But if you got to California, it's probably closer to like 15, 20%. Where here it might be like 3 or 4%. Right. So on the local level, I'm not quite sure where you could get. I always look at it like more on a national average. Because again, we're never that crazily out of whack on that. We've talked about these objection handlers a lot, like, hey, I'm gonna wait till the rate goes down. We've talked about this a lot in different trainings over the last year, you know, for buyers, and what's our response? I think you've been in enough of these trainings. Do you remember the response? The rates go down, exactly what happened in 2020 will happen again. Competition will go through the roof. When rates get that low. Well, then what happens when competition goes through the roof? Prices go up, and you're also probably paying appraisal gap coverages. We saw so many people pay $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over appraisal price. That's money out of your pocket you're bringing to closing. So, okay, is it really worth that extra 3%? To wait till competition gets to that level? So it may seem high, but let's say it gets to 6%. Well, if we wait till it gets to 3%, You bought in 2020, I think you said, so were you on the like very beginning of,
I think it's like three. 3.25 maybe.
Yeah.
What's your objection to people that say they wanna build when they're waiting to drop the bill?
they want to build?
I'm just saying, let's say like, okay, yeah, when rates are low, that does drive the competition up for the home, but what about building? Is it
There,
not?
it was across the board, I mean, even build jobs are tough to come by.
Okay.
And this gets the motivation, so if we're having this question, at that point in time, they're quoting you 12 to 18 months to build your house, because they were so busy.
Okay.
And what also happened during that time? Building went through the roof, so what also happened? Materials went through the roof, which means building was way more expensive than buying an existing house. To build like a basic ranch anymore is $300,000. So you get any substantial house, and you're $450 easy. You just sold a couple new builds, what were those prices?
One was, 4 bedroom, 2 bath. That was, 280,
Okay, that's good
and
price.
then, but it was at 499.
Oh, that's right.
499.
So it's D.R. Horton, so they're financing it themselves as the builder.
And the other one
What's
was,
that rate?
other one was a 5 bedroom, 3 bath, no, 5 bedroom, 2.5 bath for, 309 because of the area.
So you can see the builder prices.
My bad,
Yeah,
19.
but still, that's still good, because during the heart of the building, I mean, a basic ranch, we're getting quoted 300. So right there, you can see those prices have already come down, so that'd be back in the conversation.
We got Carrot Home now too, that, 4.875.
I don't know much about them, what do they build, anything,
Custom
everything?
build, they do custom builds, but they're a little bit higher end, like Fox Prime Home, they're like underneath them, like, so kind of like in the middle, like, to say, median like 4, usually 4 or 5. But just, sometimes just the conversation with the interest rate is people, looking. So I just posted a post not too long ago, just at 499, and people was, so, are inquiring.
So when rates get that low, I mean, we being quoted 12 to 18 months, these are ready to go houses for the most part. And cheap rates, so that bring that back in the conversation if they're that cheap again. But during that 2020 to 2022, 2023 lumber cost, I mean, everything was through the roof. So, I mean, they were building into new build houses. That if you couldn't close within a certain time, they had the right to raise your price, because by the time they got to your build job, the lumber could have been 30% more. And they were gonna build that into your price. So we had some people not able to build anymore, because it drove the price too high. So it got that chaotic, if you will, because we just didn't know enough about what was going on. Because there's nothing saying lumber prices next month, would it be double again?
Also, is an interest rate, sometimes you can't really lock it in for so long too.
They won't get locked in until you're under contract. So if you go get pre-approved today, they're gonna give you, hey, if you bought today, this is what things would look like. If you take 60 days to find a house, he's your agent, he turns it into your lender, that's when you get locked in, well, the rates may be higher or lower. And then that could change things too.
But with, when you're building, so it takes so long.
When you're building, it would depend on the lender. If you're building with them, they're gonna lock it in. So you're gonna get the 4.99, they're building that into their deal. Each lender is gonna handle it different. Because it depends if you're doing 2 draws, 3 draws, that kind of thing. So the builder will take a draw from the lender throughout the building process to pay for the process. So generally, you're locked in, but it'd be dependent on that.
Oh, also, if it's a bill, how do you get, as an agent, how do you get compensated? Because, so in our neighborhood, agents don't get compensated.
Here's the book.
All talk,
They're not very realtor friendly.
yeah.
Like they don't work at all, but like they're the realtors,
No,
actually, if you wanna buy it.
Yeah, they basically, yeah.
Because they have their own like blending out as a help share, and then they do all the work.
Wait, they will, you gotta just argue with them. Right, yeah.
If I have a buyer, and they go to a old folks home and I'm the buyer's agent,
Go try to take them from. So you should go.
but they can't do that. If I have a buyer's agency agreement, they're basically saying, so they're saying they're not gonna pay. the
Well, your
buyer.
buyer agency agreement is between you and your buyer.
True, they've taken the position that they're not paying buyer's agents, like
Yeah.
across the board.
By and large, yeah.
They just have their own realtors in their office essentially that do all the work, so you don't have to.
So our argument with that is why not have somebody in your corner, because that builder rep is looking at the company, not necessarily you.
Has it
So-
always been that way?
With them, most builders are gonna be cool, like, one of my favorite builder reps, he's actually with DR Horton now, his name is Don Carey. So at this time, he was with Granite Ridge, and I had a client that they talked to him 3 or 4 times, had meetings, and they're like, we really want you to be part of this process. So I'm like, great, so I called Don, like, hey, like, I know they've already met with you, he's like, no problem, he's like, come on, you know, if that makes them feel more comfortable, let's go. Cause he knew, like, if they didn't feel comfortable, they weren't building with them. And so he brought me on board and he looked at, it, let's make everybody happy. That was the right way to handle it, you know what I mean? So, but some builder reps are not that. So that's why, when you talk to your buyers, first thing you need to tell them is like, if it's anything I can sell to you. New build, existing home, on market, off market, for sale by owner, not, you know, just, if you find a house you like, I'm your first call. Because you wanna be the first person that introduces that person to the builder. So if your buyer calls Lancia before they talk to you, and they're in Lancia's system, or they went to an open house or whatever, you're not gonna pay the nickel. So you need to be the one that curates that relationship, and then right away send them over a compensation agreement that says they'll pay you 3%. And then that locks it there. But whole talk is very different.
Yeah, but that, to that point that, I know we, unfortunately, that we know of. That happened to my wife. Which, I mean, whole process showing them homes we sell. And then they kind of went like ghost a little bit. And then they finally was like, well, we walked into the, and I was just like, all right, lesson learned here, you know, we gotta get. I'm thinking get the BAC signed. And then maybe after you find it out, go to the builder and say, hey, you know, we working with that agent or working with that client and they, you know, agree that blah, 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 blah. I talked to Lee about it. Lee said if you have the BAC, then they would, and if you know, I remember, and he said they would honor that, but obviously it's easier if you introduce them first, but it's tricky because, you know, they'll say, you know, you have the buyer's consultation, like this, you were looking for it. They didn't mention you, or maybe you mentioned it to them a couple of times, and they're like, no. And then they go, oh, let's just check out this open house or something, and then now, so it's kind of.
Well, that's why even if they don't bring it up, you wanna bring it up that, hey, I can represent you on this.
If you get the BAC signed though, and they did go into that, you exclude both of them. And it happens in post, and how do you think that conversation would go?
By and large with builders, if you don't introduce the client to them, it's not gonna go well. Cause they look at, hey, we started this conversation, now you're trying to come in last minute.
Is it pretty common practice to try and go to open houses with your clients?
As much as possible, it's always good, because one, you wanna protect your relationship with your client. And there's a lot of agents out there that are gonna try to snake.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So like,
Love to see what they're- it's like, people that really, like one even came in with their phone, they took a picture of the sign-in sheet or whatever. Oh, that was
My fingers out to the picture, so
Yeah,
I was
walked in and was like,
You see me?
the agent was like, I don't know what to do, like, what do you do, pause the scene with people?
I've not heard that one, but like, for instance, I did an open house on Saturday. And a potentially interested client came in and, you know, we're talking, they bring up that they had this agent. So I reached out to that agent, just like, hey, just so you know, John and Jane came in. And they seem interested, so, you know, just wanted to give you a heads up. So I'm building, again, relationship with that agent. They can, I'm not trying to steal your client, I just want you to know they're out there looking. So maybe it's been a while since they talked, but what I will always tell people is like, hey, it's great you're working with so-and-so, but I can never be a help, you got my number. And I just leave it at that, then if they reach out to me, and that says they see more value in the service I've been providing than their agent. Economic factors play an important role in an agent's understanding of the market. So here we're pretty good, but if you go about an hour or two north by Elkhart, the RV factories employ a huge percentage of that population. And if they start laying off, what do you think happens to the housing market? It starts to slow up a lot. So even though here it might be okay, up there may be a whole different story. Because one industry kind of employs a huge chunk of people. This one applies a little bit more to Fort Wayne and the surrounding areas. How many workers are entering or exiting the workforce in your market? There's a lot of new companies bringing people in, from GM to Amazon, and somebody just supposed to say like Google's gonna build a data center here or something.
I mean, like, real close to the neighbor.
Okay. At the Harvester building or?
I think it's like right by, Adamson Road,
Okay.
like maybe somewhere around, is that Sealer or something like that?
I'm not too sure, but again, there's big companies left and right coming to town. So we got a lot of people entering. If you're in the housing market in Los Angeles, you're seeing a lot of people leave because taxes, companies and whatnot are leaving. Growth rate of your community year over year, and you can get this on the city website or the county website for wherever you're at. A lot of times they'll post these kind of stats. The more people coming or going. And then this one, I can't think of any examples that really would apply, but I'm curious if you guys do. Has the government made any changes to the rules and regulations that might affect the housing market? There's nothing that's really coming to mind. I'm not saying they can't, but I just not seeing anything here recently. The only thing I can kind of think of is like during COVID time when they wouldn't let people get evicted or foreclosed on. But that was more protecting the people that were already in places. Neighborhood numbers, nearby shops and restaurants, nearby health facilities and neighborhood attractions. So where this all comes to play, you're showing a house to a buyer. And you know that they really like the trails, like get on FortWayneTrails.com or the county trail maps or state parks if you know that's their thing, or they like to go to local brew shops and stuff like that. What are the local breweries? Think of those kinds of things that you include in your buyer showing documents when you go out and see a house. So visit Fort Wayne on the corner. They have a great pack for like $5 that if you have somebody moving to town, again, going to a lot of people moving to this area, that will give you stuff about the city and the county. And most counties will have that kind of thing. And that'll feature all these things, neighborhood attractions, the shops, the restaurants, then health facilities. I mean, there's not tons and tons of those. That's gonna be just something you research as you get knowing your client level. Ahas. Hopefully it's knowledge is power. It's very cliche, but it's very true. We tout ourselves to be neighborhood experts or market experts. Our clients can find a lot of this information out, but we gotta get them to a point where they understand if they're talking to us that we know more than them. If they feel like they know more than us, are they gonna use us? The answer is probably no. So it's up to us to show our value to the clients and not in a know-it-all kind of way. But if they ask a question, we either know where to go find the answer or we already know the answer. It's very, very important. And over your first year, year and a half, 2 years in this business, you're gonna learn more and more about different parts of your market that you serve that maybe you didn't know anything about. And that's where again, maybe each quarter you focus on a different area of the market you serve. Or maybe it's every month you change it up. Because then you start absorbing all this information. And you know, hey, if we're looking at a house in this neighborhood, generally it's gonna be 250 to 300, just depending on the house. That would just be like knowledge you have just at the ready. Because you've studied the market enough and you know. Build your expertise. Learn the market, learn the clientele, listen to individuals, keep the headlines in context. So let's focus on the top three first. This is what all of you, when we started this session, you guys all kind of hit on. I need to understand the market or the neighborhood. I'm doing an open house today. What clientele live in this area? What's gonna be kind of our target market for this area? It's gonna be renters, buyers, high income, low income, things like this. Then listen to individuals, listen to your buyers, listen to people that maybe live in that area. And then this last one. This is very, very important. Headlines are very misleading a lot of times. So read the actual article and then read articles from different perspectives. The news likes to glamorize and really try to scare the Jesus out of people. So understand what it's truly saying. And this goes back to what we were just talking about a few minutes ago. Who do you know that you can call? So they're talking about interest rates and it's all scary at this time. Who are a couple of lenders that you could call to have a conversation about that, to really put it into context? This is again why relationships in this business matter so much. Hey, James. So know your lore, so that's the language of real estate. If you need that, Ben, Aaron, or Lee can get that for you. So that just shows us against the market, like, are we up, are we down? You know, how many listings are we up or down, month over month, year over year? Same thing with values and things like that. And then this gets back to systematized lead generation class we did about 2-3 weeks ago. Know your business. Notice the changes over time in your personal business. If you track things that are really high level inside of Command, how many calls you're making, what your pipeline looks like, what lead sources leads are coming in from, you're gonna be able to track and understand why your numbers might be going up or down. But if you're just winging it, you're not gonna be able to do that. But it's very important that you can be able to track your business at that kind of level. Learn your clientele. Who are the buyers? Where can we meet buyers? Who are the sellers? Again, like we talked about in the last session, remember that sellers are buyers first. So in virtue of meeting a lot of buyers, you're gonna meet a lot of sellers as well. Because generally sellers are gonna start the process by looking for houses that meet their new needs. And does this market that we're currently in benefit your clients? And does the market put your clients at risk?
What does that mean by that?
So buying like right now. Yeah, financially, are we gonna be okay? What kind of industry are our clients in? So what this market would be, again, let's pick on maybe like the Elkhart area, if we know like there's a big layoff coming, you know, or the effect, because they usually promote that. Do we feel comfortable like advising our clients to buy if they may be losing their account? And that's up to them to decide, not for us to decide, but it's maybe one of those tough conversations you have. Again, up there, we got a lot of buyers that were hot and heavy, and, you know, going into the fourth quarter, a lot of those places went down to 2-3 day work weeks. Some took, you know, a month or two off. Well, it's income that those people no longer have. Is that gonna put them in a very tough spot? So that'd be like the most blatant example that kind of happens here quite a bit, where the market factors could shift enough where again, that industry, employs so many people at that level, that it could really affect those people in the negative.
Have you ever had your clients, like, feel like you're just like you're overstepping, should be nosing around and what I can do?
Thankfully not. But I can see where people feel that way, but, you know, again, if you just ease your way into it, then you'd be, again, getting to know them and building that trust. Again, does the market benefit your clients? Like, if you know your clients have a ton of equity in their house, this market can benefit. You know, it's still a seller's market, but again, now they gotta go buy something. So again, what would be their motivation to go buy and give up that equity? Then think about how you would market to the buyers and the sellers. How are we gonna go find them? And I would say open houses are a great free way to market. Because all the websites are promoting your open house for you. Hopefully you're running some social media ads around the open houses as well. So this is a great affordable way to meet a lot of buyers and sellers. Grassroots approach. So doing events, things like that would be a great way. Just getting involved in B&I groups or things that you enjoy doing, just getting involved in the community. You get to talk to a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different industries. That will give you a lot of different information. Now you're kind of hearing from all different sides. Then learn where your sphere gets their information. This is very important nowadays because the news is so segmented. You can get whatever your particular approach is, you can get news spoon fed to you from that direct approach. That cuts out the different sides, different angles to the story. This is why having a wide sphere of influence is very important because you get to hear it from different perspectives. And then be present. So when you're in these conversations, be engaged. It's great your phone rings 10 times while you're in this meeting. Just should do not disturb, set it off, just be present for that conversation. Again, getting back to keep the headlines in context. Read past the headline, don't just read the headline, actually read the article. And read articles from different perspectives, to understand what they're trying to say here. And then know your numbers. Again, Upstart does a great job every month publishing what the market's doing. We just talked about tracking your personal numbers.
No, we didn't, right?
But at the end of the day, no matter the market, there's people buying and selling. I was talking about the house I bought in 2009 and, you know, the recession's going on. We're one of 4 offers. But it was priced right and marketed right. It got enough interest. So no matter the market, people are buying and selling. So what can you do to talk to them? Resources. So we have a lot of different apps that you can resource. Inland's a great one that's real estate specific. It's a subscription service, but this would be a great resource. That's just kind of talking about the real estate market as a whole. Using the apps through command. Both the consumer and the command app would be great to have, because again, on the consumer one, you can build the guide that can help educate your client. And what's nice is everything filters down from your command profile. So you put all your bio, your headshots and all your stuff in there. And it'll populate to all these different apps. Then establish yourself on social media. Again, decide if you're gonna create a business page or not. But don't be afraid to share news about the industry. Interact with people. Promote yourself on social media. And if it's not your cup of tea, there's a lot of services out there that'll put the post out for you. But engage with other people's posts as well. Make comments, you know, like their posts, share their posts, things like that. So again, it helps work the algorithm. That's what we're talking about a little bit today. And it's perfectly fine if that's not your cup of tea. Like I said, there's a lot of services out there that will handle it for you. Then we get to, how do we tie this all together? Your first months in this business, in the first year especially, should be studying as much as possible. Again, study different areas, get to meet as many people in this business as possible, lenders, title reps, all these kind of people, because they're gonna give you perspectives on this business that will help. Then inside of here, now you're gonna be talking about how many people they should be talking to. Try to have 10 conversations a day. This could be in person, phone call, text messages, and this would be your resource partners or your clients. Add these people to your database, stay in touch with them consistently. Don't be afraid of handwritten notes. This is a great way to provide another touch. It could be an anniversary card to a past client, birthday card, or hey, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me this week. The social media engagement, again, this should be in your guide right here, right here. 10 posts a day. Do 5 comments a day and then 1 direct message a day. So to create your own post. And this would be per social media channel. And then enrichments, this is coming to trainings like this, coming to book club tomorrow. After the team meeting, coming to the team meeting, doing script and role play with Ben. You know, right before this, at 9 o'clock, he does script and role play for today's sessions. Questions before we wrap up? All right. So the big walkway, I hope you guys take it starts now, like you got a lot of tools at your fingertips to study this stuff. If you want to go study a new area of town or a neighborhood that you've never been in, set up showings for yourself if there's houses for sale there. Or just go drive through the neighborhood and start learning about a subdivision or an area that you've never worked in or been in. Then just furthers your knowledge of the business. All right. Well, thank you guys.